All right, I'm here with Dan. Dan, you get a bit more of an insight into the internal view into what goes on at the club. I mean, have you seen anything that gives you kind of perhaps a worrying feeling about going forward, or more a positive feeling?
I'd say, I think so far it's been quite a lot of reassurance from, I don't see everything, but from what people have told me, at the club day by day, going to the club for like press conferences, speaking to people. Yeah. I think there's a lot of reassurance and enthusiasm, because there's been a lot of changes behind the scenes at Southampton, and I think, from what we've seen from the article Alfie House did with Jason Wilcox the other day, and just generally what we've heard from Wilcox so far, it's been very positive as far as, they're very strict on valuations of players, right. And if they're not met, then they won't go. So I think that's a big plus to see so far, and Saints standing firm on those valuations and not just letting people leave for the sake of it. And there was an interesting quote from Wilcox, I thought, on saying that sometimes I might have to go to a player and just say, I'm sorry, but the valuation's not been met, so you're going to have to stay with us in the Championship for another season. So yeah, I think that there has been a lot of changes as a result of relegation, but I think it's exciting, and a lot depends on who stays now between today and the end of the window, and who we could see start against Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. Could be very different to who we see play the majority of the season. So I think a lot of recruitment going forwards depends on who leaves. I think midfield's a key area. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what happens for Saints this season, and yeah, I think it's going to be a season of change, on and off the pitch, and I'm excited to see how results go off on the pitch as well. So yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just from an outsider looking into the organisation structure of Southampton, I've been quite impressed with the way they've done their contracts, and the fact that we are standing firm on the 50 million for Lavia, we are standing firm on the fact we want 40 million for Prowse. Is that normal for a football club to be so together in terms of their financial structures, that means that they hold the cards, so to speak?
I think it depends. I think is it normal? I don't know. I think it just shows, hopefully, the start of Saints being not to say they weren't, how to say this, I don't know, like last season, they weren't run incredibly. No. I think it's fair to say the recruitment for the Premier League was there's a certain profile they're going for in young, talented players, and it worked in the likes of Lavia at the start of the window, and then going forward the recruitment just didn't seem what Saints needed to stay in the Premier League. Yeah. But I'd say that what we've seen so far is encouraging for Southampton. Just being a well-run club, hopefully the start of just building up the reputation of being a club that is efficient in what they do as far as recruitment, outgoings, contracts is concerned, and I think it's the best they can do in the situation they've got. It's a tough situation for Southampton, and something else Jason Wilcox said is if you believe everything you see on Twitter, then Southampton won't have any players. So I think just take everything with a little pinch of salt, and Southampton have got to have these valuations, or they're going to lose all the players for a little bit of money, and that means they can't reinvest it in key positions. So I think it's encouraging, and if things go right, Lavia is pretty, I'd say, nailed on to leave. I'd say if he goes for a decent amount of money, you're looking at about 45-50 million, which is I think encouraging from a Southampton point of view. If he goes for that amount, and then if Ward-Prowse does leave, he goes for about 40, 30, high 30s, low 40s maybe, then you've got a nice amount of money to reinvest that into the squad. So I think it's hopefully the start of a new season for Southampton Football Club, and I think Saints want to be known as a club that is run well, and I think the fans want that too. So
and of course, running into should the dream happen, we get promoted. FIFA Fair Play is going to look amazing for us in terms of the money we've recruited. But are we a little bit naive in terms of looking at the Championship and thinking like we're going to basically be top two? I mean, do you see that being realistic, or is that kind of a bit of a pipe dream?
I'd say Saints. I think you've got to be set absolute minimum playoffs. Right. I think anything less than that, then Southampton fans are going to be disappointed. You'd want, in an ideal world, them to be top 2, and I think that would be incredible and an incredible achievement. And the least, if Sport Republic achieve that, then that's the least they can do to repay the fans for last season. I think it'd be a huge achievement getting top 2 and getting promoted straight away. First time back of asking. I just got a feeling it's not going to be that easy, and I know you kind of alluded to it before, but I think it's going to be a tough season. It's going to be a grind, and you can't really predict too much of what's going to happen because of the recruitment and what we've seen so far. If Ward-Prowse and Lavia go, you're talking maybe about the 70, 80, 90 million pounds to spend. How well do they reinvest that into the squad?
Right. How much would they need to invest in?
Yeah. And I think midfield, like I said, is going to be a really key area. And if Ward-Prowse and Lavia go, that was your starting midfield 2 for last season. So, I think there's still a lot of questions to be asked and about Russell Martin. How's he going to play? Is he going to have a midfield 3? Is he going to have a midfield 2? What needs to be recruited in that area? I think Will Smallbones looked incredibly encouraging in pre-season and had a great season at Stoke last campaign.
I'm impressed with Smallbones.
I think he's going to have a big season, and he's been saying that to us in his interviews, and I'm excited to see what happens for him. I think it's then bringing in another marquee name alongside Smallbone and others to play, and I think hopefully maybe Alcaraz in a number 10 kind of roaming position. So I think there's still a lot of questions, and like I said at the start, I think the team that play against Sheffield Wednesday will be incredibly different to the team that played the most of the season. So a lot of questions, and I think a long way to go still in this transfer window.
A lot of questions and a lot of positivity.
I'm a positive guy, so I like to think on the front foot and looking ahead. But I think it would be a good season if Southampton. It'd be an incredible achievement if they can go straight back up in an incredibly tough championship. Obviously, we cover. Don't say the name, but that club in League One that you guys don't appreciate. And they've been saying a lot this season that they really think they can push on, because a lot of the sides promoted in League One up to the Championship, were big names, and this season there's not necessarily a huge name in there. So I think for them, they're hopeful they can come up next season, but again that just makes the Championship that much stronger and competitive for next season. So the likes of Ipswich are going to be a big side, and I'm excited to see, and I think I've got everything crossed that hopefully Southampton can have a good season, and we can just see some enjoyable football, because last season was so tough, wasn't it? Some of the football we were seeing was just really tough to watch. And you've got a few nice moments, like the league double over Chelsea, and we're not going to talk too much about it, but and that Man City game in the League Cup. But it was tough last season. I think the main hope for Southampton fans is that that there's an attractive brand of football, and hopefully success that comes with it too.
Absolutely. And you cover Bournemouth as well, don't you?
We do Bournemouth as well.
So in terms of the actions that they're making, we can talk a little bit about them and stuff like that.
Go for it.
But in terms of, they've got a new manager, they've got a few new players. There's a lot of talk about them solidifying themselves in the Premier League. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's the plan, yes. If you asked me a year, 2 years ago, then I would have said, Bournemouth will be, one of the teams fighting to stay in the Premier League next season. They've had the takeover. Bill Foley's come in, a very wealthy man, and not a young man. I think it's fair to say, someone that has got a lot of money to spend, and it looks like with the amount of money that he's looking to spend, he's not getting any younger, so it's not something that he's not in there for the long game. So I think that they'll be looking to make a lot of big signings, and I think they've made some really good recruitment additions so far. The likes of Justin Kluivert. Who would have said before, Justin Kluivert would be going to a club like Bournemouth? So I think they've still got some recruitment needed in their midfield after losing Jefferson Lerma. That was a big loss for them. But I think they've got a lot of money to spend, and there's talk of a new stadium at Bournemouth potentially as well. But a club that have got huge ambitions, I think, going ahead to next season. And I think Andoni Iraola's appointment is just, solidifying that belief, because Gary O'Neill did a brilliant job keeping them in the Premier League last season. And
unreal April.
Exactly, and they didn't just stay up by the skin of their teeth. They impressively stayed up. So yes, I think next season Bournemouth they'll be looking, whether they'll do it or not is another question, but I think next season they'll be looking to be one of those sides that are, solidifying, like you said, their place in the division, and hopefully Saints can join them again next season.
Exactly, in the Premier League.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, no, next season could be interesting. Obviously, a long way away, but you think next season, if Pompey did go up, sorry, I say the name.
Yeah, bleep that out.
If Pompey did go up, and there's so many possibilities, but all of these sides could be facing each other potentially next season.
Actually going to get a derby, maybe.
yeah, because the Cherries game isn't a derby, is it? But no, I think it's incredibly exciting at Bournemouth, at Southampton for next season, and Pompey will be hoping they go up too. So yeah, there you go. Probably the most Pompey content you ever had on this channel. So
it's all good.
Yes,
amazing. Really appreciate it, Dan.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.